What if I told you that losing your job makes you 3 times more likely to develop an anxiety disorder than someone who's employed? Not just feel anxious, develop a diagnosable psychiatric condition that can last years.
And what if the anxiety you're experiencing right now isn't just normal stress, but the beginning of generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, or even OCD? What if unemployment is a clinical risk factor nobody warned you about?
In the next minute, I'm revealing the hidden link between unemployment and anxiety disorders, showing you diagnostic criteria to know if you've crossed from stress into disorder, and explaining why this matters for your recovery. Let's solve this mystery. A 2024 meta-analysis of 47 studies found that unemployed individuals have a 300% increased risk of anxiety disorders compared to employed individuals. That's not a typo. Triple the risk. And yet, nobody talks about this.
Today, we're uncovering the 4 anxiety disorders unemployment triggers, how to know if you've crossed into clinical territory, the biochemical mechanism behind the link, and why catching this early changes everything.
Critical disclaimer: I'm not a doctor. If you're having panic attacks daily or thoughts of self-harm, pause this video and call 988. This is educational, not medical advice. Link in description. If this video helps you recognize anxiety symptoms you didn't know were clinical, smash that like button. Your engagement helps others discover this hidden connection. Here's what most people think. I'm anxious because job searching is stressful. Here's the hidden truth. Unemployment changes your brain chemistry in ways that create anxiety disorders, even if you've never had anxiety before. It's not psychological, it's biological. Unemployment floods your system with cortisol for months on end. Your amygdala expands, your prefrontal cortex shrinks. Your brain physically remodels into an anxiety-producing machine. And here's why this matters. If you don't recognize it's a disorder, you treat it like stress. But stress management doesn't fix anxiety disorders. You need different interventions, and the sooner, the better. Now let's reveal the 4 anxiety disorders unemployment commonly triggers. As I describe each one, do a mental check. Does this sound like me? Disorder number 1, generalized anxiety disorder. This is when worry becomes your default state. Diagnostic criteria: excessive worry about multiple things, most days for at least 6 months, plus 3 or more of these: restlessness, fatigue, concentration problems, irritability, muscle tension, sleep disturbance. Unemployment connection: you worry constantly about money, about finding work, about the future, about what people think. But GAD is when the worry becomes uncontrollable and consumes you. Key sign: you can't remember the last time you felt calm. Worry is your baseline now. Quick check. Count how many you have. Restlessness, exhaustion, can't concentrate, irritable, tense muscles, sleep problems. 3 or more plus constant worry for 6 months. That's GAD territory. Disorder number 2, panic disorder. This is when fear attacks you out of nowhere. Diagnostic criteria: recurrent unexpected panic attacks, sudden intense fear with symptoms like racing heart, sweating, shaking, shortness of breath, dizziness, chest pain. Plus at least 1 month of worry about having more attacks or behavioral changes to avoid them. Unemployment connection: first attack often happens during job application or when checking bank account. Your nervous system is so primed for threat that it fires false alarms. Key sign: you start avoiding activities that might trigger attacks. You become afraid of your own fear. Quick check. Have you had sudden intense fear episodes with physical symptoms? Do you now worry about the next attack or avoid situations because of them? That's panic disorder. Disorder number 3, social anxiety disorder. This is when social situations feel like threats. Diagnostic criteria: intense fear of social situations where you might be judged for 6 months or more. You fear acting in ways that will be humiliating. You avoid social situations or endure them with intense distress.
Unemployment connection, job loss often involves public humiliation, being fired, walked out, laid off in front of others. Now all social situations trigger that humiliation fear. Networking events become torture. Interviews are terrifying. Key sign. You rehearse conversations obsessively and replay social interactions looking for mistakes. You avoid LinkedIn because seeing others' success feels like judgment.
Quick check. Do you avoid social situations, networking, or even leaving the house because you fear judgment? Do you overthink every interaction? That's social anxiety disorder.
Disorder number 4, OCD-related behaviors. This is when rituals take over. What it looks like, you check job boards compulsively, 50, 100 times a day. You rewrite your resume obsessively, never satisfied. You perform rituals believing they'll bring job offers. You ruminate endlessly on what went wrong.
Unemployment connection. The uncertainty of unemployment feeds obsessive-compulsive patterns. Your brain tries to create control through rituals and checking behaviors.
Key sign, you know the behavior is excessive, but you can't stop. The compulsion feels stronger than your willpower. So here's the big question. How many of these 4 did you recognize in yourself? 1? Multiple? If you identified with even 1, keep watching. This gets more important. Now, let's uncover why unemployment specifically causes anxiety disorders. This is where it gets fascinating and terrifying. First, chronic cortisol elevation. Employment gives you daily cortisol spikes that then drop. Unemployment gives you elevated cortisol 24/7 for months.
What this does, cortisol damages your hippocampus, the brain region that regulates anxiety. It's like having your anxiety brakes slowly dissolve. Without functioning brakes, anxiety spirals uncontrolled.
Study finding, after 6 months of unemployment, cortisol levels in some individuals match those in people with PTSD. Second, amygdala hyperactivation and growth. Remember, your amygdala is threat detection. Unemployment signals constant threat.
What this does, your amygdala physically enlarges and becomes hyperreactive. Brain scans of long-term unemployed show amygdalas 20% larger than employed individuals. A bigger amygdala means you perceive more threats more intensely.
The result, you develop generalized anxiety disorder because your threat detector is now oversensitized. False alarms everywhere. Third, prefrontal cortex atrophy. This is your rational brain that calms anxiety. What happens? Chronic stress shrinks your prefrontal cortex. The part that should say this worry is irrational gets weaker. Meanwhile, your amygdala gets stronger. It's like your anxiety gas pedal gets more sensitive while your brake pedal stops working. Recipe for anxiety disorders. Fourth, serotonin and GABA depletion. These are your calming neurotransmitters. The science, chronic unemployment stress depletes serotonin and GABA, the chemicals that naturally calm anxiety. Without them, your baseline anxiety rises permanently.
This explains why. You used to be able to calm yourself down. Now you can't. Your chemical calm system is depleted. This isn't weakness, it's biochemistry.
Fifth, the sleep anxiety vicious cycle. Unemployment anxiety disrupts sleep. Poor sleep increases anxiety. Increased anxiety disrupts sleep more. It's a downward spiral. Research shows after just 3 months of unemployment, 65% of people develop clinically significant sleep disturbances. Sleep problems are both symptom and cause of anxiety disorders. You can't anxiety manage your way out of sleep deprivation. The biology works against you. Bottom line, these 5 mechanisms transform temporary job stress into permanent brain changes. That's the hidden link. Unemployment literally remodels your brain towards anxiety disorders. Now here's what nobody tells you. There's a predictable timeline for when anxiety disorders develop during unemployment. Knowing this timeline can save you.
Month 1-2, acute anxiety phase. This is normal stress response. Your body is adapting to threat. Symptoms, racing thoughts, some sleep disruption, worry about immediate future. Status, not a disorder yet. This is expected.
Your nervous system is doing its job. Month 3 to 4, critical window. This is when normal anxiety can cross into disorder territory. Biological changes accelerate. Your cortisol should have stabilized by now, but if you're still unemployed, it doesn't. Warning signs. Anxiety isn't decreasing. Sleep getting worse, not better. Worry spreading to more life areas. Can't remember feeling calm.
Action needed. This is your intervention window. Catching it here prevents full disorder development. Month 5-6, disorder threshold. Most anxiety disorders require 6 months of symptoms for diagnosis. If you're still experiencing severe anxiety at this point, you've likely crossed into clinical territory. Brain changes. Amygdala enlargement measurable. Hippocampus damage detectable. Neurotransmitter depletion significant.
Reality? You now have an anxiety disorder that requires professional treatment, not just stress management.
Month 7+, chronic pattern establishment. Your brain has now remodeled. Anxiety is your new normal. Even if you get a job, the disorder often persists because the neural pathways are carved deep.
Studies show 40% of people who develop anxiety disorders during unemployment still have them 2 years after finding work. This is why early intervention matters so much.
So where are you on this timeline? Month 1? Month 4? Month 8? Your intervention needs change based on how long you've been experiencing symptoms.
But here's the hope. If you're in months 1 to 4, you can prevent disorder development. If you're in months 5+, treatment can reverse brain changes. It's never too late, but earlier is always better.
So, what do you do if you recognize yourself in this? 3 critical interventions based on your timeline.
Months 1 to 2, aggressive stress management. Exercise, sleep hygiene, social connection, nervous system regulation. Months 3 to 4, add professional support, therapy, potentially medication evaluation, structured intervention programs. Months 5+, clinical treatment, cognitive behavioral therapy for anxiety, possibly SSRIs, comprehensive mental health care. Don't wait, the timeline matters.
I know this is heavy. You came here thinking, I'm just stressed about unemployment, and now you're learning you might have an anxiety disorder. That's scary, but it's also empowering.
Because now you know what you're dealing with. You're not weak or failing at job search. You have a medical condition with known causes and effective treatments. That changes everything.
Can I share something personal for a second? At month 4 of unemployment, I started having panic attacks in grocery stores. Random, sudden, terrifying. I thought I was losing my mind. I didn't know I'd crossed into panic disorder territory. I kept treating it like stress. Meditation, deep breathing, thinking positive. It wasn't until month 7 that a doctor said, "You have panic disorder. This needs treatment, not stress management." I started medication and CBT. Within 6 weeks, the attacks stopped. I'd suffered for 3 unnecessary months because I didn't know the difference.
Don't wait like I did. If you're at month 3 or 4 and things aren't improving, get evaluated. Anxiety disorders are treatable, but you have to recognize them first.
Let's recap the hidden link between unemployment and anxiety disorders. 4 anxiety disorders, unemployment triggers: generalized anxiety disorder, constant uncontrollable worry; panic disorder, recurrent attacks; social anxiety disorder, fear of judgment; and OCD tendencies, compulsive checking behaviors.
5 biological mechanisms. Chronic cortisol damages hippocampus. Amygdala enlarges and hyperactivates. Prefrontal cortex shrinks. Serotonin depletes. Sleep anxiety cycle spirals. Your brain physically remodels toward anxiety. Timeline matters. Months 1 to 2, normal stress. Months 3 to 4, critical intervention window. Months 5 to 6, disorder threshold. Month 7+, chronic pattern.
Action. Match intervention to your timeline. Early months, aggressive stress management. Middle months, add professional support. Late months, clinical treatment. Don't wait. I know realizing you might have an anxiety disorder is terrifying. You're already dealing with unemployment. Now this? It feels like getting kicked while you're down.
But here's the reframe. Anxiety disorders have 70–90% treatment success rates. That's better than most medical conditions. With proper treatment, most people fully recover. This isn't a life sentence. It's a detour with a clear map.
6 months of proper treatment can reverse the brain changes unemployment created. Your amygdala can shrink back, your prefrontal cortex can regrow, neurotransmitters can replenish. Neuroplasticity is real.
And one day, you'll realize you went a whole week without a panic attack, or you slept through the night, or you felt actually calm. Those moments are coming. The biology is on your side when you get the right treatment.
You're not broken. Your brain adapted to an impossible situation, and brains can adapt back. That's the science. That's the hope.
You're not alone in this. Hit like if this helped you understand the hidden link. Comment which anxiety disorder you recognized in yourself: GAD, panic, social anxiety, or OCD tendencies. Let's normalize seeking treatment.
If you're past month 3, please get evaluated. Don't suffer in silence. This is Mindstick, reminding you, anxiety disorders are medical conditions with medical solutions. You deserve treatment. See you next time.